You ever feel like you're playing life on hard mode for no reason you can quite put your finger on? You know, like your own brain has a secret agenda that just doesn't line up with what you're actually trying to do? Well, today we're going to unpack that exact feeling, that confusing and honestly pretty frustrating experience of feeling like your brain is working against you. So let's start with a feeling that millions of people know all too well, but can't always name. It's this sense of being just out of sync with yourself. It's like this quiet, internal battle that can shape your whole life without you ever really knowing what you're up against. And Barbara's words here, they just capture it perfectly, don't they? This isn't just about being a little scattered now and then. It's this deep, isolating struggle. It's a feeling that your own mind is a puzzle you just can't solve, which, so often leads to shame and this feeling like you're just failing at being a grown-up. Ah, the classic. We've all done this, and it's almost a running joke. But what if it's not just a funny little brain fart? What if it's happening all day, every day? What if it's a sign of a real disconnect between what you meant to do and your brain's ability to just hold on to that thought for more than a few seconds? And this one gets mistaken for laziness all the time. But it's not, is it? It feels more like there's an invisible wall. You know you need to do the thing. Pay that bill, make that phone call, just start the laundry. But actually starting feels like trying to climb a mountain. It's this huge gap between knowing and doing. Or how about this? If you are constantly retracing your steps, hunting for your keys, your wallet, your phone, it's a sign that your brain is just running on autopilot. You put something down without really thinking about it, and a second later, poof, it's like it just vanished. This isn't about being careless, it's a pattern. Okay, so you take all these moments, the forgetfulness, the procrastination, the lost keys. How do they all connect? What if these aren't personal failings? What if they're just symptoms of a very specific and actually very common type of brain wiring? Well, what we're talking about is ADHD. It's a form of neurodivergence, which just means a brain that's wired a little differently than what we call typical. And for most people, it doesn't just go away after childhood. It sticks around right into adulthood, where the symptoms can look totally different and are so often misunderstood. And I love this analogy because it just perfectly explains the daily experience. The part of your brain that's supposed to be your GPS, your guide, it's just easily overwhelmed. It's constantly getting sidetracked. So it takes this huge amount of effort just to stay on course, which is why things like self-control can feel like a constant battle. Now, if any of this is starting to sound familiar, I really want you to hear this. You are so far from being alone. Recent estimates show that over 366 million adults across the globe are affected by ADHD. This isn't some rare niche thing. It's a really common human experience that we're only just now starting to get a handle on in adults. So what is actually happening inside a brain with ADHD that makes all this stuff happen? It's not as simple as someone just not paying attention. The reality is, honestly, way more complex and a lot more interesting. And here's the paradox that trips so many people up. ADHD isn't really a deficit of attention, it's a problem with regulating it. So yeah, you might not be able to focus on a boring spreadsheet for 10 minutes to save your life, but you can lose an entire day completely absorbed in something you find fascinating. That ability to hyperfocus, that's the powerful flip side of the inattentive coin. Okay, so at the very heart of a lot of these struggles is something called working memory. The best way to think of it is like your brain's mental post-it note. It's what lets you hold information in your mind while you're actually using it. And for a lot of folks with ADHD, that post-it note is, well, it's kind of faulty. And when that working memory is weak, you feel the impact everywhere. I mean, think about it. Losing your train of thought in the middle of a sentence, completely forgetting what someone just told you to do, struggling to follow a conversation, these are all direct results of that faulty mental post-it note. It just turns daily life into a series of little mental hurdles. And this is so, so important to understand. This condition often goes completely unseen, especially in women. Girls and women are way more likely to internalize their symptoms. They learn to cope, they learn to mask, they get really, really good at hiding their struggles. And this can lead to a whole lifetime of feeling anxious or depressed without ever knowing the real reason why. Okay, so if this is all starting to feel a little too real, a little too much like your own biography, the big question is, what now? How do you get from this place of confusion and suspicion to a place of actual clarity and understanding? Well, getting a proper assessment as an adult, it's a really thorough multi-step process.
It's not just some quick online checklist. A good clinician is going to do a deep dive interview with you, use standardized screening tools, and look at your overall health to make sure there isn't something else going on that might have similar symptoms.
And that's a huge part of it, right? Ruling other things out, because the symptoms can overlap with so many other conditions. Take anxiety, for example. Both can make you feel restless and unable to concentrate, but a key difference is when it happens. With ADHD, you can struggle to focus even when you feel perfectly calm and relaxed. Getting a diagnosis, it's not about getting a label, and it's definitely not the end of the story. It's really the beginning of a whole new chapter. It's the moment you finally get the right map for your unique brain. It's all about learning to work with your neurology instead of constantly fighting against it.
And look, there's rarely one single magic bullet for managing ADHD. It's more about building a personalized toolkit that works for you. This can mean therapy like CBT to help change negative thought patterns, coaching to build practical skills, some really crucial lifestyle changes, and yeah, for a lot of people, medication to help the brain's chemistry work a little better.
And seriously, do not underestimate the power of these lifestyle strategies. Things like getting regular exercise, getting enough sleep, having a solid routine. This isn't just good advice. For the ADHD brain, these are fundamental tools. They provide the structure and the brain chemical support you need to really function at your best. Speaking of practical tools, here's a really simple but super effective one for anyone who deals with working memory issues, either for yourself or for someone you love. The simple act of having someone repeats an instruction back to you does two things. It makes sure they actually heard you, and more importantly, it helps move that information from that leaky working memory into a more stable place. We also need to bust a couple of myths here. Managing ADHD is not an either-or choice between meds and natural strategies. For so many people, lifestyle changes are the powerful foundation, and they can work right alongside medication. Or for some, they might be effective enough on their own. The goal here is empowerment, right? Finding what works for you. So let me leave you with this final thought. For decades, this has all been framed as a deficit, a disorder, something that's wrong with you. But what if understanding how your brain is wired lets you see it in a totally different light? What if that glitchy GPS also gives you incredible creativity, boundless energy, and this amazing ability to hyper-focus and solve problems in ways nobody else can? When you finally understand the map of your own brain, you don't just find your way. You start to discover your own unique superpowers.